Welcome to AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. It's season 3. This is episode 46. We're talking waiver wire. It's the first waiver wire episode we've done this year. NFL week 1. Football is back. Football started. I'm a happy camper. I think you are as well. We both only lost one game in our fantasy leagues. I went 5 for 6. You went 2 for 3.
I went 3 and 2.
3 and 2.
So I lost 2 games.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry, dude. You're hyping me up, dude.
But my name is Michael Marcanio. I'm the host with the most. I'm here with my boy Tyler Revelis, also known as Itsy Boy T. Go follow us both on Twitter, or just follow the podcast on Twitter. Those are down in the description below. Follow us on Instagram. Like I said, this is going to be the waiver wire episode. So if you want to navigate through the episode really easily and quickly, if you just have, I'm going to have timestamps in the description. Say you want to check out running backs that you could possibly pick up, or you're in need of a receiver, or you have George Kittle and you need a tight end. We got your back on all these positions, but you can look through the timestamps and navigate through the episode that way. That way you can get the information. If you don't have time for the entire podcast, we understand that. But if you're listening to this right now and you haven't already, give us a rating and review on the Apple Podcast app. Really helps us out big time. Just even if you go down there and press 5 stars, man, it really helps us out. And then subscribe to us on YouTube. We have full video format too, so that's helpful as well when you are getting an idea of the players that we're talking about. So, did I miss anything? Also we just started it this year, but we're doing these an hour before all the games start on Sunday. We've been doing a last minute start sit. We had actually a decent amount of people coming in and asking questions. So if you're between 2 guys who to start, who to sit, go check us out. We'll always be live on YouTube and Instagram an hour before the game starts. So 8:45 to 9:45 Pacific Standard Time. I don't know what it is on the East Coast, but an hour before the games. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's make some moves and learn about some of these players.
For sure. I mean, obviously you did your draft week 1. It's in the books, but your league is not won at the draft. You're just kind of building your foundation. It's the building blocks of your championship run. And, the waiver wire is just as important, if not more important than your draft, because you can come in and pick up a ton of players, So that's what we're here for.
Even if you'd completely dominated week 1, always be ready to pick somebody up.
Always try to get as
that
many
depth.
Good players as you can. You'll always hear me saying it. It's trade equity, Just don't think like, I already have some good running backs. I don't need to go get a Nyheim Hines, who we're going to talk about.
Listen,
go get that guy, because now you have just that much more ammo to pull off a trade to go boost your lineup and stuff with that said. But I don't know about you, dude, but I've been waiting to hit this drop for a while, dude. And it's time to fucking
pad the wire.
Pad the wire. It's time to pad.
I missed that.
The wire, baby.
I forgot about
Week 1.
I forgot about that wire pad right there, dude.
Yeah.
What's that from again?
Next Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pad the wire. I'm doing more time, dude, because it's just so good.
Pad the wire. Pad the wire.
All right, so we're gonna pad the wire today.
So we're going running backs to start us out. We're talking who to pick up, who's our number 1 ad, and I am agreeing. Tyler made this list, but I'm agreeing with him on this number 1 for Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, so we got, Nyheim Hines obviously wasn't getting targeted in a lot of drafts because it was kind of a, you got Marlon Mack, he was still a starter. You got the talented rookie Jonathan Taylor coming in, and then you got, Nyheim Hines was, was supposed to be like a change of pace, kind of third down back. Marlon Mack, the news broke, he tore his Achilles, so he's out for the year. So now you're going to have a combo. To me, it's going to be a combo of Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. Yeah, obviously, Jonathan Taylor's ceiling is through the roof now because he should see 15-plus carries every single game. And, that guy with how good he is, how fast he is behind that offensive line, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's going to be something special. If you got him in your drafts, I mean, yeah, he's an RB1. He's a set and forget it every single week now. But I think Nyheim Hines is going to have a ton of value. I mean, we saw him. He had 2 touchdowns, only 7 rushes, but he had 8 receptions on 8 targets. So, I mean, heavily utilized out of the backfield. I mean, I got to –
Yeah.
I was going to say, we got to shout out the medicine man, a.k.a. Dr. Coochie. He was. I know, Mike, you and him do a league together.
Yeah.
And, he was saying to go target Nyheim Hines, and you guys did.
And we have him on our bench, and that's actually in a online league where there's no trades allowed because people don't know each other, and people could just buy in 3 times and trade to each other, so that you can't trade in there. So draft is super important. You have a lot deeper benches. It's really helpful to have him on the bench as like a depth move. It doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna 100% start him in the next week. It's not like this is gonna be the guy, but the running back, we've learned from week 1, the running back situation it's a little sketchy. A lot of running backs who were projected to take over backfields didn't do anything, and then there was rookies who came in and did stuff, and then there's a lot of mishaps. So if you can have someone who is going to get, especially PPR league, if he's going to get receptions, and obviously 8 for 8, that's not going to happen every week, but the fact that you're getting 8 targets is huge.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, half-point PPR, full PPR. I mean, Rivers likes to throw the ball to his running backs. I mean, we saw the difference between, just to bring up the Chargers scenario, like Eckler only had 1 target, I think, or 1 catch on Sunday for the Chargers. But then you got Rivers coming to the Colts. Nyheim Hines, like you said, 8 receptions. Even Jonathan Taylor had 6 catches as well. So, Rivers, he's going to be checking down. He's going to be throwing the running backs. And, now it's in Indianapolis for the Colts, it's Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. So if you have a number 1 waiver claim or a high waiver claim, I'm definitely put it in for Nyheim Hines. He's widely available. He's 65% available on ESPN. He was 97% available on NFL. So it just makes me believe that people who would use ESPN are smarter than people who use
He's
NFL.
even less owned than Yahoo.
Yeah.
I know you hate Yahoo, but I like it.
So go get Nyheim Hines. Like I said, I mean, it's hard to find a good running back who's going to be utilized a ton on the waiver wire. Like I said, it should be like a running back by committee still. Him and Jonathan Taylor are going for it. And as long as they don't sign somebody, I think, Nyheim Hines is going to be a guy who's going to be a good running back for you.
Yeah, especially PPR. If you're in PPR league and you need a running back, he's definitely a great add. But if you say you have the number 1 waiver priority, you taking Nyheim Hines?
I'm taking Nyheim Hines, yeah.
That's a good point.
It's close between him and the next guy.
We can go. You want to move on to the next guy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. The Malcom Brown.
So it's close between him and the next guy. Let me cut you off, Mike.
No, you're good.
It's close between him just because it's to me it should be Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, and that's it. Malcom Brown comes out, has a big game, 18 rushes, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 3 receptions on 4 targets for another 31 yards. So big game from Malcom Brown. The problem is that nobody had him in their starting lineup. He's 92% available. He played 60% of the snaps. The only reason I would have Nyheim Hines over Malcom Brown is just because, like I said, it should just be Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines over there in Indianapolis, where with the Rams, you still got Cam Akers, who I'm expecting more and more as the weeks progress, him to be a little more acclimated, him a little more involved. And then Darrell Henderson obviously was banged up with a hamstring for most of training camp. I'm expecting him to get a little bit of run as well. So kind of 3 running backs in L.A. compared to just 2 running backs in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, it broke my heart with the Cam Akers. I mean, it's not like they didn't give him touches. I think he had 14 or 15 touches. He had less than Malcom Brown, but not by a lot. Like, I was watching the game and I was thinking to myself, get Cam Akers more involved. But I mean, he was. He just wasn't very efficient, wasn't very productive. I mean, it's his first game as a rookie. They wanted Clyde Edwards, and they kind of settled for Cam Akers. So, yeah, I don't know. But I would say don't panic if you have Cam Akers, though.
So you watched the game. I didn't get an opportunity to watch this game, but you said that Malcom Brown actually looked good, and Cam Akers
did not
look good, right?
Well, I will say, though, in every play that Malcom Brown was in, it was like they were doing these weird motions and like these kind of crazy plays, and then Cam Akers comes in, and then they're like, all right, dog, just run it up the middle. And then also Cam Akers didn't really get targeted like receiving wise.
Yeah. So
it's like I think that will step up in the future. So I mean, I don't know. I'm still not panicking. I still have faith that Cam Akers is still eventually going to be the guy there, but yeah, I would definitely put Nyheim Hines over Malcom Brown in a pickup. I think you still should add him in there. Even if you have Cam Akers, it's not a bad move to have Malcom Brown in there.
For sure. You want to throw that Malcom Brown template up?
Oh, whoops. Sorry when I
There you go. That's my. Oh, there you go.
I had it there, but it just because
There was no fucking flub.
I had it there, and then it's because I switched the thing, and then it went back. My bad.
It's all good. Yeah. So Malcom Brown, he'd be my second option. You know, if you can't get a guy like Nyheim Hines. I mean, the guy played 60% of the snaps. I mean, when you're getting 18 carries, I mean 21 total touches. I mean, a guy like that on the waiver wire is not there very often. So, and like I said, I do think going forward, you're going to see Cam Akers get a little more acclimated, a little more involved. Even Darrell Henderson's there as well. But, yeah, to have a guy, like I said, get 21 total touches, you know, you got to go get a guy like that, especially because he was productive with his touches. It wasn't like there's another guy we'll touch on later who had a shit ton of touches, but he was just, besides falling into the end zone, he just was inefficient. You know, Malcom Brown, at least he was doing his thing.
Yeah.
He didn't, to me, it's like, If there's a running back, you know, going out there, you got 3 running backs. He's kind of seeing who's the hot hand, who can kind of, you know, take over as a starting running back. Malcom Brown did everything to prove to Sean McVay and the Rams, like, hey, I could be the starting running back. You know, I did a good job. And the Cowboys defense is actually one of the better defenses in the NFL too. So it wasn't like he was playing against some chump defense.
Right. I like it. It's very sad though watching Cam Akers. You know, I was high on him.
Yeah.
We can move on to the next guy now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Adrian Peterson, he refuses to fall. He just wants to play forever. Look at these Look at these old. Look at just the on this. Oh, I guess they can't see it, but even on these highlights, it just look how old it is.
Yeah. It's like that's how we used to watch football games. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, just throw an AP up here. I mean, he's 78% available. I mean, we didn't know how the usage was going to get split over there. Obviously, we said, you know, when we did the matchups, you know, we didn't want to start any of these running backs. AP, Swift, Kerryon Johnson. I think all of us were out on Kerryon Johnson just in general. But, I mean, obviously you got 3 running backs there. We didn't know how, you know, the pie was going to be divvied up, who's going to get what, how many percentage snaps and all and everything. But, I mean, Adrian Peterson played 31% of the snaps. DeAndre Swift actually played the most amount of snaps. But in terms of who got the ball the most, it was AP. 14 rushes for 93 yards. He actually had 3 targets, 3 receptions for another 21 yards. It's kind of not really what AP is known for, getting receptions, at least at this point in his career. So, I mean, yeah, he was the most productive running back out of the 3. Kerryon Johnson is just – he shouldn't even be owned, in my opinion. He's third on the depth chart behind DeAndre Swift and AP.
That was quick.
Yeah. But, yeah, so AP is out there. And here's the thing that kind of just, you know, the alarm's going off in my head of why I think you should go get AP. You know, the guy just got there a week ago, and he leads the team in rushes. He was tied with DeAndre Swift for the most receptions for running back, over 110 total yards, and he just got there a week ago. I mean, so it's like they weren't lying when Matt Patricia said, yeah, we're going to utilize him. He's here to run the ball, you know. But then you look at a scenario where you got Fournette, he goes to the Bucks, and he got there a week ago. And the guy was just like not utilized at all. Only 5 carries. It was Ronald Jones who was the main guy there going forward. We didn't see that with the Lions. It was like they went out and got AP, and obviously there was a reason why they went and got AP, because they probably didn't like what they saw in Kerryon Johnson. DeAndre Swift, I think over time could take over the backfield. Like, he did play the most snaps, but he was still a little banged up in training camp. Probably not 100% right now. So in terms of going forward, we could see DeAndre Swift take over. But yeah, I think AP. I'm not breaking the bank to go get him, but if you want some depth on your team, or maybe you're hurting for that second running back, I mean, the guy, like I said, he got 14 rushes, 93 yards, so not a bad guy to go.
Would you spend a waiver claim on him? Say you're in or like how much fab would you put on him?
Like I said, I'm not breaking the bank.
Yeah.
If Nyheim Hines would be the guy, like I said, I'm going after.
Yeah. Like I would say, if I wouldn't use a waiver priority on him, but I think I would maybe wait and see, and then like pick him up. Unless I'm like the 8th out of 12 or like the 9th out of 12 or something, maybe I'll use that. I don't mind moving back down from that.
Yeah.
But
or even if like he goes through waivers,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, or I might just wait and add him.
Yeah.
Later. I think he's one of those guys that you could do that. I don't think everybody's running to the waiver wire to go pick up Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, there's still 3 running backs there technically.
Yeah.
They all got a little bit of run. AP just doing the best. And yeah, and when we touch on all these guys, you don't
There's only
you don't necessarily have to go and put a fab on it, or the fab is the free agent acquisition budget.
Yeah.
Free agent acquisition budget. Yeah, so
yeah, if you're in a fab league, I would say maybe I'll throw like $1 on it or whatnot, or like
something low,
100.
Yeah, like I said,
bucks,
all these
3.
players, you don't have to bid on them or throw a claim in for them. Some of these players are going to go through the waiver wire and they'll be free agents, on Wednesday. And you can just go grab them for free. So these are just, players that we like. Some of them, you're going to try to go get. But some of them are going to go through the waiver and nobody's going to claim them and they're just going to be free to go. These are just players that we're saying to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we can move on to the next guy here. This is my dude right here. We got Benny Snell Jr. So James Conner had a high ankle sprain or a left ankle sprain in the middle of the game yesterday. But I will say that before that, James Conner did not look as efficient as Benny Snell. Benny Snell just looked explosive. He looked quick. He was doing work. Yeah, so I love Benny Snell as an ad. I would actually I would put Benny Snell ahead of Adrian Peterson. I would almost put waiver on him, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I mean, Benny Snell, 19 rushes, 113 yards. He's 85% available in ESPN, 99% in NFL. He's probably up there in Yahoo as well, I'm assuming. But yeah, like you said, James Conner, I think he finished with 6 rushes for 9 yards. Did not look good. Gets banged up. But that was like the question mark with James Conner. The guy hasn't been able to finish a full season in the NFL yet. Did I think he would at least play one full game? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy that he gets banged up in the first quarter, second quarter of the very first week.
Yeah, you weren't expecting that quick.
Yeah. But Benny Snell's a guy where they said he came into camp, second year in the league. They said he lost like 12 to 15 pounds. He slimmed down, looks a lot leaner. James Conner's in a contract year, and it's going to be way cheaper, is what I'm trying to say, to keep Benny Snell than to re-sign James Conner, who's often injured, and he's going to want, I would assume that he's going to want like a Melvin Gordon-esque type of money, like $8 million per year, when you're getting like Benny Snell for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think they're going to move on to Benny Snell, and they're going to incorporate him. It sucks for James Conner, but I think they're going to start moving on to Benny Snell being their guy. I will say, if someone wants to trade James Conner because it's only an ankle sprain, I'm still down to try and trade for him at a low price. You know what I mean? Because I in a couple group chats and some leagues I'm in, I got guys like James Conner. I'm trading James Conner. I'm like, all right, dude, I'll give you a bench receiver and a bench running back for James Conner. Because once he does come back, he still is kind of their guy right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that, especially because if you're trading for a guy like James Conner, hopefully you have some pretty decent running backs. And, if he's your RB3, then it's like, okay, I don't need to throw him in my starting lineup every single week. And if he gets hurt, it's not going to kill me. I wouldn't be breaking the bank to go get him. But, yeah, if you could potentially buy low on him, I would. If I have James Conner, I don't necessarily know if I'm trying to trade him. I might just be standing pat. They said the ankle injury shouldn't be anything serious. I think they were just kind of holding him out because, 1, he was banged up, 2, he was being inefficient, and then 3, Benny Snell was running the ball really well. So they were just kind of like, there's no reason for us to throw you in there and make the ankle injury even worse.
Right.
But, if I have James Conner, then I'm probably trying to make it a priority to go get Benny Snell because I'm just trying to lock up this Steelers backfield, because if James Conner does go down for a good period of time, at least I handcuff him with Benny Snell because to me, Big Ben looked – he looked good to me. He looked okay. I mean, he wasn't out here slinging the ball like Patrick Mahomes, but, he was putting the ball – he was accurate. He was, even like just little dump offs here and there across the middle. But that's all they have to do.
Yeah, with that defense is all they
Yeah, that's all he has to do. So Big Ben looked pretty good to me. Juju looked good. Deontay Johnson. Claypool had a couple nice catches.
His first catch was a toe drag outside. That was crazy.
So I think Big Ben is, this offense is going to be pretty good. So, yeah, if I can get any piece of this backfield, whether it's James Conner or Benny Snell, I want as much as I can.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we can move on to the next guy here. We got James Robinson from Jacksonville. I was watching the Colts, or not the Colts game. I was watching the Miami game at your uncle's house. So, how do you think James Robinson did? You think he's Like, because I didn't actually see every snap is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why I bring up James Robinson is because we were kind of throwing some shade at him. We were like, oh, the only running back we want is Chris Thompson. We don't want James Robinson. I think the reason we thought that was because we were assuming the Colts to just run down the Jaguars' throat. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars, that defense is not the same as the Saxonville Jaguars a couple years ago. They've been getting rid of everybody in free agency, trading everybody away. They actually gave up like the second most rushing touchdowns, the most rushing yards per game. So we were just assuming, what do the Colts like to do? They like to run the ball. So we were just assuming the Colts were going to be up ahead. The Jaguars would be chasing. The rushing upside wouldn't be there for James Robinson. We thought a lot of Chris Thompson would be utilized in the passing game out of the backfield, playing catch-up for the Jaguars. This was not how this game script ended up playing out. We actually had the Jaguars win the game. I know we do a Survivor League, Mike. I was telling you how I had the Colts as my pick for week 1 for the Survivor League. And in the morning as I was walking my dog, I switched it to the Bills. And thank God because, the Jaguars upset the Colts in week 1.
Yeah. Gardner Minshew doesn't give up, dude. Guy's good.
How could you not root for that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, yeah.
You just love that story. An undrafted free agent had the highest completion percentage on Sunday, a 95% completion percentage. I mean, dude.
Yeah. But, so the thing with James Robinson here, I mean, he's 70% available in leagues. 16 carries, no other running back had a carry. So it's like he was the running back. That was it. Chris Thompson didn't get a carry. He played the most snaps out of any running back. I mean, you still got Armstead on the COVID reserve list. Zigbo's banged up. Chris Thompson, I'm shocked that he didn't get at least a couple carries. But James Robinson, 16 carries. Like I said, no other running back had a carry. To me, that's just that means something. They trust this guy to be the guy, and You cannot deny the volume, maybe even if it's on a bad Jaguars team. Yeah, he's a starting running back on an NFL team. And if he's on the waiver wire, and he is on 70% of the leagues, I'd go get him, even at depth, because for all you know, maybe you get injuries, you get to these bye weeks. It's always good to have depth at running back. You can never have enough running backs. So, James Robinson would be a guy that I would be trying to get if I could.
Nice. Ooh. All right, let's move on to this next guy here. We got Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon didn't play for what, like 3 years? Seems like he got signed from Minnesota to the 49ers. You forget he's a guy.
Yeah, you don't even have 49er highlights for him because he didn't even play a game yet.
Until exactly.
This Sunday.
It's all Vikings. But I mean, he did well. He did well in Minnesota. That was even before Dalvin Cook, huh?
Yeah.
That was like Sam, what's his name? Or not Sam, I almost said Sam Donald.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, was that Teddy Bridgewater time?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so we got Jerrick McKinnon of the 49ers here. I mean, a few years ago, he was kind of like their big free agent splash. They go out and get him. This is before Tevin Coleman. This is before Raheem Mostert. He's 83% available. And I'm just bringing him up because he's a name to know. I feel like, if you have some depth, I'm not breaking the bank to go get him. I'm not really spending a fab or a waiver claim on him. But if he passes through waivers, I'm definitely trying to go get him. I mean, he had 5 targets. So in terms of, if you're in a PPR league at least, 5 targets is pretty good. He scores a touchdown. And a lot of the beat writers out of San Francisco have been saying that, he looks like, he looks explosive still. I know he's had the ACL injury. He's been banged up the last 2 seasons, so he hasn't played. But they're saying that he looks like the Jerick McKinnon that they went out and spent $20 million on or whatever it was that he got paid.
Way too much.
So just a guy, I think, to keep an eye on. Obviously, we know how Shanahan, they utilize a lot of running backs. I think it's Mostert's kind of secured that backfield. Tevin Coleman's there as well, but I think McKinnon's a guy who can come in and be that Matt Breida role for this 49ers offense. So just a guy who, if he passes through waivers, I'd rather have the upside of him. Like let's say if something happens to Mostert, something happens to Tevin Coleman. He's a guy where if you have him on your bench, then you have like a lottery ticket in a sense.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. It's just one of those names you forget about, but you can't forget. He's coming in. No, Sam Bradford was who I was thinking of.
Oh, Sam Bradford, yeah. Oh, yeah, Sam Bradford was there too. Forgot.
Yeah, Joshua Kelley is the next guy we got going here. So this is a rookie running back for the Chargers. Dre was actually kind of high on Josh Kelley. So, Austin Eckler only had, one target? I think he had 1 reception. I don't even think you did.
Yeah, Austin Eckler had 1 reception. He did get the lion's share of the carries. I think it was 18 or 19 carries. I think that was a career high for him, maybe potentially.
Yeah, it's literally like he has a different role, and it's, you realize how much more useful he is as a pass catcher.
Yeah.
Than a rushing running back.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I say with Eckler, he said I think he gets 18, 19 carries, only 1 reception for 3 yards, I think it was. So don't be scared of that. I mean, obviously you would like to see him get more utilized in the passing game, but over the career, I saw a stat, Tyrod Taylor's in his career, he targets the running back 20% of the time. So those targets will come eventually. It wasn't like another running back came in and got 5 or 6 targets and Eckler only got a couple. Like it just, for whatever reason, he just wasn't targeting the running backs. Maybe the matchup wasn't there for whatnot. But yeah, I think Joshua Kelley is a good name to keep an eye on. Like I said, I'm not breaking the bank to go get this guy, but 12 rushes for 60 yards and a touchdown. Obviously they get rid of Melvin Gordon. They sign Eckler to the extension. They make him the feature back, but Eckler's not going to be a guy like a McCaffrey, like how Fournette was last year, seeing 90% of the snaps. Is he going to see majority of the snaps? Yeah, 100%. But there's also going to be that change of pace back, a guy who comes in, gets some goal line work, and I think that's what Joshua Kelley is. Justin Jackson, I think, he's just a depth chart guy. He's just
I wouldn't worry about Justin Jackson if you're an Austin Eckler owner. I would actually, if I don't have Austin Eckler, if someone's panicking with him, I would try and trade for him. If I can get him low, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, for sure. If I could get Austin Eckler on the low, for sure would try to get him. But yeah, Joshua Kelley, just like I said, some depth at the running back position. And, if anything was to happen to Eckler, it looks like Joshua Kelley would be the starter there. So I think it's always good to have some depth. Like, here's the thing. I would rather have a guy like a Joshua Kelley, a guy like AP on my bench. Maybe I'm not playing them every single week, but the upside they have potentially if one of the players get hurt, I'd rather have that upside compared to like a 5th string receiver, a 6th string receiver that I'm like never going to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why am I maybe this receiver is better than Joshua Kelley right now, but when am I realistically going to play my 5th or 6th string receiver?
But if you have Austin Eckler and something happens, you have that backup, and that's going to be useful. You're going to be running back 1. You're going to throw him in the RB2 spot,
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas that, and then you're still, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see how much utilization he got right there. And like we said, Tyrod Taylor's never been a high-volume passing quarterback. He's not going to go out and sling the ball 500, 600 times like Phillip Rivers did back in the day. So they obviously just want to try to ground and pound, maybe game manage with Tyrod, and then play some good defense. So yeah, Joshua Kelley, just a good name to keep an eye on. Throw him on your bench, stash him.
100%. Here, sorry, we get those here. Sorry about that. My bad.
Gucci.
We got Devonta Freeman. He's supposed to sign with one of 4 teams. So this is just kind of like a speculative ad. I mean, if he goes to depending on the team, if he could be the starting running back on a team right away. Devonta Freeman still has. He's a little bit older, but I think he still has a lot of talent. It's not a bad stash. I wouldn't go and use a waiver priority on Devonta Freeman, but that's just me. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I'm not using a waiver priority on him. If he got fab, I'm maybe dropping $1, like you said, something low. But it's just, yeah, he came out and said that he's ready to play football. He's pretty much just debating on who to sign with. He said he's got 4 teams that he's kind of choosing from. But, I mean, he's 93% available. So, like I said, if he passes through waivers, maybe you just go grab him, you stash him. Could he be something on a team? Potentially. Could he be nothing? Yeah, he could be nothing as well. But, if you go out and grab him and he signs to a team and then he ends up being a relevant fantasy player, I mean, you're getting him now before he signs with a team. Because, let's say if he signs with a certain team, everyone's going to be like, oh, I got to go get Devonta Freeman. But right now you can get him for nothing because he's not even on the team. So, yeah, just kind of like you said, Mike, a speculative.
Just got to sound out those
We'll see.
words.
Hopefully he doesn't go to the Colts because I think that would make things a little murky with
Yeah.
Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. We'll see if maybe he does sign with the Jaguars. That would make things a little murky for James Robinson and Chris Thompson.
I feel like he goes to, let me guess. Who do you want to guess where he goes? I'm going to guess he goes to either Jacksonville or the Bears.
I'll say Jacksonville just because that was the last team he went to. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it probably is Jacksonville if we have to
just something, I think this is more news than like I'm rushing to go get Devonta Freeman. It's
Watch
just
the
like,
Patriots sign him.
It's just like, hey, he said he's gonna sign with a team. He's just debating which one of the 4 teams that he's been in contact with that he wants to sign with. So just some news, more than like rushing to go get him.
For sure. We got Fronk Gore, Le'Veon Bell, slipped, tripped, and fell on his dick.
My fingers hurt.
What was the official Le'Veon Bell injury?
I think he strained a hamstring injury, and Adam Gase came out and said that it could be a couple weeks until he's back in. So it's just crazy. We're doing a waiver wire in 2020, and we're still talking about AP, and we're still talking about Frank the Tank.
It's like we should just know to keep him on the team.
Yeah. So, I'll bring up Fronk Gore here. He's 97% available. Only reason I throw him here on the waiver wire is because, like I said, Le'Veon Bell, he tweaks the hamstring. Is supposed to be missing a couple weeks. The depth chart for the Jets now looks like Fronk Gore. You got Josh Adams. He actually scores a touchdown. But for whatever reason it is, Adam Gase has got a man crush on Fronk Gore. I mean, as a Dolphins fan, we saw it. No matter how good Drake was, Adam Gase would just feed the ball to Fronk Gore over and over and over again. But I got to give it to Fronk Gore. No matter how old he is, he still looks really good. Obviously, he's lost a step. He's not the Fronk Gore of these days back with the 49ers. But I think Fronk Gore's still a really good running back. A savvy veteran. First ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
This is how old these highlights are right here. It's framed. You can't see it on our thing, but it's framed at 4:3, which is when TVs used to be squares and not widescreen.
Nice.
That's how old Fronk Gore is.
But I mean, obviously, Jets aren't the best offense, but they did boost the offensive line. They got Mekhi Beckham in the draft. They go out and get a couple free agents to kind of boost that offensive line. Obviously, the game script, they were getting blown out by the Bills. In week 1, so you're throwing the ball a lot more instead of running the ball. But I think going forward, like I said, Fronk Gore and Adam Gase, whatever it is, or Adam Gase just loves Fronk Gore. Could I see a scenario where Fronk Gore is getting 12 to 15 rushes and some goal line work? 100%. So that if he's going to be there for the next couple weeks, he's going to be the starter for an NFL team. He could be a guy you go out and utilize. I think we touched on it in one of the preseason or the pre-draft episodes. We're talking about how this could be a year of the streamer, especially with COVID, injuries and stuff like that. So is Fronk Gore going to be a guy who just takes off and he's a running back you're using for season long? Probably not. But could you go out and get him? Like say you had a James Conner and he's banged up, he misses next week, and you can't get Benny Snell, you can't get Nyheim Hines. Fronk Gore could be a guy where you just need somebody to throw into your lineup who's going to get you, like I said, 12 to 15 rushes, some goal line work. He could be a guy who could save you for that week you throw in there.
Yeah, for bye weeks and all that. Yeah, I like it. All right, we can move on to the next guy. We got, this guy kind of came out of nowhere. Running back for the Miami Dolphins, Myles Gaskin. Jordan Howard hurt himself as well. And he only had 9 snaps. So Myles Gaskin came in, and he looked good. I don't know if you ended up having to go to work, so you didn't watch the full game, but I mean, he was productive. He was efficient.
Yeah, so Myles Gaskin, guy's 99% available. He wasn't getting drafted at all. I mean, the Dolphins running backs that were getting drafted, you got Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. I'm not sure what happened to Jordan Howard, if he was just being inefficient, if he got a little banged up, and then all of a sudden, Myles Gaskin was a hot hand, so they just kind of stayed with that approach. But yeah, Myles Gaskin, he led the Dolphins in week 1 for the running backs in rushing yards, receptions, and targets, and he played on 63% of the snaps. Now, I don't know if this was just game script. Like I said, maybe he was just a hot hand. Jordan Howard was maybe banged up, but Jordan Howard did not do very well. I think he only 8 rushes for 9 yards or something stupid like that. He falls into the end zone. He gets the goal line carry. But we knew he was going to be the goal line back for Miami. So just another name right here. I'm not breaking the bank. Maybe if I got some fab, I'm throwing $1 on him. I'm throwing something low in to get him. Maybe he could take over as the running back for the Dolphins here. I'm a little surprised that Matt Breida wasn't more utilized. And Myles Gaskin's 63% of the snaps. that's pretty good. So, yeah, just a name to monitor. We'll see how in week 2 when they play against the Bills in Miami, we'll see how much he gets utilized and, who the main running back will be for the Dolphins. But just a guy, a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah, pay attention.
Maybe if you have an extra bench spot and you miss out on all these guys, you just throw them on your bench potentially and see what happens.
Maybe if you have somebody on IR and you just have that extra spot, yeah.
But just interesting, like you said, because we're expecting Jordan Howard, we're expecting Matt Breida, but yeah, it was the Myles Gaskin show.
He I'll just say he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good. So we'll move on to the receivers now. This feels like deja vu because all last year, all we did was talk about pick up Smokey Brown, John Brown for the Buffalo Bills, wide receiver. I mean, dude, I just don't understand. What's his own percentage?
So, yeah, what's a waiver wire episode for us if we don't talk about our boy Smokey Brown right here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, John Brown, I mean, he's owned in 70%, so he's only 30% available in leagues. But the only reason I bring him up is because it's still 30% available. I mean, and here's a guy where 6 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, to me, I get it. They go out and they get Stephon Diggs. He's the big name at free agent splash. They go out and sign him and get good. Diggs is good. But we saw John Brown do it last year. He was a wide receiver too for you last year. And every week we'd be like, John Brown, John Brown, John Brown. And he would get it done against the number 1 corners on teams. Well, now guess what? This year, he's already got the rapport. He's already got the chemistry with Josh Allen. And now he gets to see all the number 2 corners. So he's no longer going against the best defensive back on the opposing team. He's going against the second and potentially third best corners on the team because you got Stephon Diggs out there. So I just don't understand why John Brown isn't more owned and utilized. I'm actually an idiot. I drafted him in one league. I
dropped him.
I dropped him because I had no kicker. I didn't draft a kicker during our draft. So
it's hard when you draft so good. You don't know who to drop.
Yeah, and it was either between him and Preston Williams, and I went homer pick because I'm a Dolphins fan, and I was like, I got to have at least one Dolphin on my team. Yeah, yikes. So we're we'll talk about Preston Williams in a second, though. But yeah, John Brown, go get the guy. I mean, I don't know if he's like I said, he's probably maybe not available, but if he is, I don't know if it's because there's 8-man leagues, there's 10-man leagues, maybe that's why. But even then, bro, like he should be on your bench because he's good. And like I said, he's got the chemistry and he's got the rapport with Josh Allen. Go get John Brown.
Go get him. All right, let's move on to this next guy who you just spoke on, Preston Williams. I wasn't too impressed by Preston Williams in this last game, but I think, everybody, you can't play your best game every game. Whoops.
Bless you.
But he definitely is with Devontae Parker slipped and tripped and falling on his dick again. Devontae Parker can't stay healthy. So Preston Williams automatically kind of gets a bump in the offense. So in that way, I'm not mad at it, but what is your feelings? You're the Dolphins fan. I should let you.
Yes, it sucks. I mean, as a Dolphins fan, I just got to say something too. So I know Matthew Berry, like I said, Devontae Parker, he got hurt. He was already dealing with like a hamstring injury in camp, and he strained it. But Matthew Berry said something stupid. I'm going to call that idiot out right now. But he was saying that he was like, did Devontae Parker get hurt? Or did he just get some Gilmore-itis and he wanted to stay on the sideline? It's like, yeah, dude, he got Gilmore-itis when he raped Stephon Gilmore last year.
Is it an AVG fantasy football podcast if we don't talk about Devontae Parker raping Stephon Gilmore?
He raped Stephon Gilmore in week 17 last year. And Devontae Parker in the first half, 4 catches on 4 targets for 47 yards. So, yeah, Devontae Parker was still doing his thing before he went down. Obviously, Miami, they lose their best offensive player. Devontae Parker's our best offensive player by far. But I was talking about a scenario where it was kind of like a role reversal of where, obviously, last year it was a 1A, 1B scenario with Preston Williams and Devontae Parker. Parker didn't blow up until Preston Williams went down. But I think I said it on one of the episodes where I could see a role reversal where, Devontae Parker last year was the first year he's actually stayed healthy for a full 16 games. And could we see a potential where Devontae Parker gets banged up and now we see Preston Williams being the main guy and he just gets funneled a ton of targets? So, yeah, that's, I was getting a lot of Preston Williams at the tail end of my drafts. Not the greatest game for Preston Williams, like you said. Watching the little bit of that it just seems like he couldn't get any separation. But
that's what I noticed.
Yeah. I mean, he finishes with 2 receptions for 41 yards on 7 targets. His 7 targets were the most for the Dolphins, so he led the team in targets. But it's a tough matchup, you know.
It is. Yeah.
When Devontae Parker goes down, you know, you're playing against Stephon Gilmore. You know, I think J.C. Jackson's the other cornerback there. You got McCourty, so a good Patriots secondary. So I'm not too worried that he didn't have a good game. But yeah, if Devontae Parker is going to miss some time going forward, Preston Williams is going to lead this team in targets. And we saw, you know, one thing I saw with Fitz, you know, he's threw 3 picks. He's still going to be the starting quarterback. He just chucks it. He literally is like, huck it, chuck it, fuck it, and he just throws you the ball.
He's like a shitty Big Ben.
Yeah. Would I be going out and starting Preston Williams this week? I wouldn't, because he's going to see Tre'Davious White, and that guy's pretty fucking good. And then also they have Josh Norman on the other side, so if Tre'Davious White doesn't shadow Preston Williams, he's still going to see some Josh Norman. So I wouldn't go out and start him this week, but if he's on the waiver wire and he is in 32% of the leagues, I'm going to get him, because if this hamstring injury just, you know, keeps Devontae Parker on the sideline and he can't be 100%, you know, like I said, I think we could see a scenario potentially where we have the Preston Williams, you know, having 110, 120, 130 targets, you know, having that Devontae Parker type of season last year, because there's nobody else to throw the ball. We have no receivers. Albert Wilson opted out. Allen Hurns opted out. I mean, we have Jakeem Grant, but he's like a little scat back guy.
Yeah.
You know, we trade for Lynn Bowden. You know, I think they're going to incorporate him in the slot, but he's still got to learn the offense. So, yeah, go get Preston Williams, because he could be a target monster if Devontae Parker's hurt.
All right. Well, we can move on to a guy I was super hyped on. Robby Anderson had a 75-yard touchdown. I said it last week. I clipped the video. Robby Anderson don't get it confused. Robby Anderson is not. I would almost not even say he's a wide receiver too. He's a flex option with high risk, high reward. But I mean, definitely worth an ad, I would say, if you're struggling on wide receivers. Say you have Devontae Parker went down and whatnot. I mean, the dude's good. And I think the Panthers are going to be in a lot of game scripts where they're going to be chucking the ball down the field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was your guy, you know, and I told you, I was like, bro, like, you got to go with your gut, you know, and you were telling us, like, hey, I think everyone's sleeping on Robby Anderson. I mean, you hit this nail right on the head. So, do you run a fantasy podcast, dude? Because it sounds like you do.
I know, right?
But yeah, I mean, Robby Anderson, he's 32% available, 6 receptions, 115 yards. He has that long touchdown, 8 targets, you know, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I personally, I know Dre and Anthony, they'd probably disagree, you know, saying DJ Moore is the one, but I just wasn't that high on DJ Moore, and it's just due to his lack of touchdown upside, and I just felt like they were going to spread the ball around a lot. I didn't see a scenario where there's going to be funneling all the targets to DJ Moore. I mean, this target, you know, the way that it got spread out was pretty even. You know, DJ Moore leads them with 9 targets, but then you got Robby Anderson had 8 targets, and Curtis Samuel had 8 targets.
So it's completely even.
So it's just, yeah, like they're spreading the ball around a lot. But yeah, Mike, I like you said, you hit this one right on the head. You know, Robby Anderson, you know, free agent from the Jets. You know, Matt Rule, you know, coming from, I think it's Baylor he came from. But prior to that, he played in Temple. He was the coach at Temple, and that's where Robby Anderson came from, Temple. So in free agency, you know, Matt Rule's first year with the Panthers, you know, Robby Anderson's a free agent. That was, you know, one of his first moves. Like, hey, I want to go get my guy. You know, I played with him in college. I coached him in college. He knows the playbook. So, yeah, I think going forward, you know, Robby Anderson definitely should be on every single one of your rosters.
He's one of those guys that you play the matchups. I was looking at the Raiders secondary and their situation, and I was like, he has the possibility. I mean, even on this catch, if you watch it, it's I mean, he just burned the guy. Like, it just completely missed coverage right there. It's like a white safety.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do it to it, baby. He's not that available, but you know, if he is there.
But go get him.
This is your guy, Mike Williams. So Mike Williams was supposed to be out for 2 to 4 weeks, and what happened? He's all of a sudden playing and scoring touchdowns. Yeah, those touchdowns that you were looking for last year.
Yeah, he just comes out and gets 4 catches on 9 targets for 69 yards.
That's a good number.
69. Yeah, so Mike Williams, he's 52% available. You know, that's my man crush, Mike Williams right there. I mean, the guy's just a freak athlete, super talented. Obviously, he gets banged up, kind of concerned, you know, with Tyrod being the quarterback as well. But to see 9 targets in week 1 when he's banged up, that to me is just, okay. Like Tyrod's not shying away from him. Like he's looking deep, and that's what Mike Williams is. He's like a deep threat guy. He's going to get you those big yards per catch. I think it was 17 yards per catch right there that he had on Sunday. So, yeah, he's a guy where, go get Mike Williams is what I'm trying to say. I'm a little mad at myself that I didn't get any Mike Williams shares. Like I said, I just didn't want to deal with it, with Tyrod being there. I didn't know how he was going to spread the ball around. And then, obviously, Mike Williams, he gets banged up. It's the AC joint separation. I know if you listen to this podcast, you've heard me say it plenty of times. I've actually had that happen to me personally, and it's pretty painful. So, depending on, whether it's a grade 1, 2, or 3, obviously his probably was not a grade 3. Mine was a grade 3, which is the worst you can get. So maybe his wasn't as bad. But, yeah, it's pretty painful injury, and it limits your, shoulder, mobility and your ability to lift your arm up and stuff like that. But obviously it didn't affect him at all. And, 9 targets for a guy who's got, touchdown upside like he does. Yeah, go get Mike Williams.
Put him on your team. Let's move on to Anthony Miller. The dude is hot. We talked about Anthony Miller like 3 years ago when it was rookie year. You just go get him or what?
Yeah, Anthony Miller was like our first 3 years ago when we started this. He was like our first rookie guy we actually broke down.
Yeah.
Guys, came out his rookie year, had 7 touchdowns, played hurt pretty much most of the year, and then even his second year pretty much banged up. Finally healthy this year. He's 62% available. Finishes 4 receptions, 76 yards on 6 targets. He gets you a touchdown right there. Trubisky dropped a nice one in the breadbasket in the corner of the end zone right there.
In the breadbasket. Trubisky doesn't want to give up that job, huh?
Yeah. Obviously he's tied to Trubisky. Not that great, I think I called it and I said Trubisky for whatever reason. He has good games against the Lions. Another 3 touchdowns for Trubisky in this game against Detroit on Sunday. But, yeah, Anthony Miller, go get him, especially in PPR leagues. He's been lining up in the slot predominantly for the last, 8 to 10 weeks. And the numbers for him lining up in the slot compared to him lining up on the outside, it's like he plays way better in the slot. So, yeah, I definitely go get Anthony Miller, especially if you're in PPR leagues. Yeah,
for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got Parris Campbell. This is Dre's boy. Did pretty decent this past Sunday.
Yeah, 70% available. Parris Campbell is right here, and I got to give it to Dre. He called this one. This was his guy. This was kind of his. What did he say? Wasn't this his DJ Chark, his second year?
Yeah,
breakout player.
Yeah, he thinks it's yeah.
So yeah, Parris Campbell 6 receptions for 71 yards, gets 9 targets. So you like seeing that. One thing I noticed is that Michael Pittman Jr. was not really on the field. I'm a little. I don't know if it's because he's a rookie and, no rookie training camp, no preseason games and stuff like that. Michael Pittman only had 2 catches for 10 yards. But Parris Campbell was on the field a ton. So, yeah, you got to go get him. You cannot deny 9 targets. I know T.Y. still got his targets. Pascal was out there kind of doing his thing. But, yeah, Parris Campbell, he needs to be 100% owned. Dre, obviously – we're going to be higher on some players than other, me, you, Dre, Anthony, and stuff like that. We're going to, there's players that I'm higher on than you guys aren't, and vice versa. But obviously we know what we're talking about. And, like you said, Robby Anderson, maybe I wasn't as high on him as you were, but you were. And you hit that right on the head, like you were right about that. Same thing with Parris Campbell. Dre's been hyped on him all off season. So the guy came out and showed out. 13 points in PPR is not bad for your receiver, who's probably your flex receiver or your third receiver, your second flex receiver.
Yeah.
So yeah, Parris Campbell, 70% go get him.
Go get him. Put him on your team. All right, we got Sammy Watkins. It was the game was a while ago, so you might have forgot, but he had another great week 1. Do you think it ends up being week 1 and that's it, just like last year? Because last year he had 3 touchdowns in week 1 and then didn't do anything the rest of the year. What do you think?
Yeah, Sammy Watkins, 55% available. It's just hard for me to drink the Kool-Aid. Like you said, he did it once and then he disappeared. I know you could make the argument that he kind of turned it on in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl he had a good game and he's kind of carrying that over. But I don't know, man. It's just he's obviously tied to Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, high-powered offense. But to me, he's just too boom or bust. For me, I'm more of I try to find the safe floors, I like guys who can boom as well, but I don't know. To me, I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid again. I mean, how do you feel about it?
I'm the same way. I'd rather go for somebody else, but I mean, like you said, with he is tied to Pat Mahomes, and that Chiefs offense is nasty. So, I mean, if he does get targeted again like that, it's not bad. I mean, if I'm not mad at throwing him on your bench and then waiting it out and seeing what happens next week. But yeah, I mean, he's not somebody I'm just super excited to go grab off the waiver. If somebody, I'm almost rather let somebody else throw him in, and then hopefully they throw him in the lineup and it burns him. I'd almost rather have that happen than me put him on the team. Like, I would rather let somebody else take that chance almost.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I could say here is, like, we were kind of thinking McCole Hardman could take that step in his second season and be more relevant. I mean, I think he only had one target, McCole Hardman did. But Sammy Watkins was, I guess you could say, the third passing option behind Kelley and Tyreek Hill. DeMarcus Robinson, he was actually pretty heavily targeted as well. I think he had like 6 or 7 targets. So for me to see that, McCole Hardman isn't, challenging Sammy Watkins for that number 2 wide receiver spot, then I guess you could say like he's kind of locked in that second wide receiver spot behind Tyreek Hill for the Chiefs. And I mean, like I said, I'm always trying to get as many good players on my bench as I can because it's trade equity, it's trade ammo. So maybe you go out and you get him and someone's just all in on it. Maybe someone's got Mahomes and they're just like, oh, I want to get those double points. So yeah, maybe you go out and you get Sammy Watkins, and instead of having him on your team potentially, maybe you go get him and you try to trade him this week.
Yeah.
Flip him in a trade potentially. Sell high on him right now while you can, or if potentially, you hold on to him. He has another good week in week 2, and then you can really sell high on him. So yeah, I'm not mad at going to grab him for that aspects. In terms of like holding him season long, I personally wouldn't want him on my team season long. I don't know how confident I would feel throwing him in my lineup, but I think for trade equity, I think he's a decent ad.
I mean, the Chiefs still have, he's like 4th on the pecking order, if you ask me. It's Clyde Edwards. No, it's Tyreek Hill, then Travis Kelce, then Clyde Edwards, then maybe Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
And then he's splitting with McCole Hardman and, other guys. So let's go to the next one. We got rookie Jalen Reagor for the Philadelphia Eagles. You picking this guy up?
I mean, he only got 4 targets. He did catch a bomb, 1 catch for 55 yards. That's kind of what he is. He's a speedster guy right there. The thing I can say is that, like, Deshaun Jackson just wasn't utilized as much as I anticipated or as much as I think everyone anticipated. I think we all expected a big game from Deshaun Jackson in week 1, but he just wasn't there. I mean, obviously you got Alshon Jeffrey. He's banged up still. JJ Arcega-Whitehead, he's just not very good. Greg Ward's not, nothing, special. No offense to that guy. So, yeah, they go out and they get Jalen Reagor in the first round, ends up playing. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not breaking the bank for him, but going forward, could he be like, the main guy potentially? I mean, when you catch 1 pass for 55 yards, that's pretty good. And eventually that 55-yard pass is going to be a touchdown. So, yeah, just a guy who I'm going out. And if he's on my waiver wire, like I said, I'm not breaking the bank, but if I can get him on my waiver wire, I'm throwing him on my bench, and I'm just stashing him. I think he's just a good guy to hold on your end of your bench. And when we get to the tail end of the season potentially, or, weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe he could really boom and be a fantasy guy for you, a fantasy starter each and every week.
Yeah. All right, we can move on to the next one. We got Green Bay receiver Allen Lazard ended up in the end zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the next 2 guys, we're going to touch on a couple Green Bay Packers wide receivers here.
Yeah.
You got Allen Lazard first, but we'll touch on MVS right after him. Allen Lazard, 75% available. Only 4 targets, though. He does find the end zone.
This is what I think about both these guys, is I think that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to throw 4 touchdowns every week. I think that's probably one of his best games.
Dude. He said, hold my beer, dude.
I don't know. I think that was one of his best games he's going to have this year. And so I don't think you're going to get touchdowns from these second and third wide receivers every week. So I'm not buying the Kool-Aid on both these guys. I don't know.
But what's the stat? I think it's 2 years that Aaron Rodgers hasn't made the top 100 NFL list, he's won MVP that next year. And my guy's off to a hot start. He's 4 touchdowns. He's right up there with my MVP pick, Russell Wilson. So after week 1, but
it's week 1.
Allen Lazard, I guess, if you want to, I wasn't big on Allen Lazard. I was kind of on the Funches train before he opted out. Even then, after this game, I'm still not on the Allen Lazard train. If there's one of these receivers I want to get, it's actually MVS. And it's just because, in training camp, Aaron Rodgers was actually hyping him up. He's like, oh, yeah, he's made a huge jump from year 2 to year 3. And, most of the times, I think people forget, most of the time, these, later round receivers, they do take time to progress and to get into the NFL. It's usually year 3 is when they do boom. It's rare that you'll get these guys, as a rookie coming out and just putting up numbers. Even second-year guys, it's kind of rare that they come out and put up these crazy numbers. So the third year is kind of like the benchmark for, these, I don't want to say lower-tier receivers, but I guess like that's what you could say, the lower-tier receivers. So, but yeah, I mean, if the quarterback who just threw 4 touchdowns is hyping this player up, I think I would want to have him more than Allen Lazard. So, like I said, I'm not breaking the bank here, but would I go grab him and throw him on my bench? 100%, because, MVS is a guy, he's got 4.3 speed. And when you got Aaron Rodgers slinging the rock to you, it's never bad to have a guy like that on your bench and just see what happens. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not breaking the bank. I'm not, spending a high waiver claim priority on him. But if he passes through waivers, I'm definitely going to grab him and throw him on my bench because, he's got higher upside than, most wide receiver 4s or wide receiver 5s.
You're making solid points, dude. You're selling me. All right, let's move on to Laviska Shenault Jr. I know we didn't really like this guy, but he ends up in the end zone. Gardner Minshew, we're not giving him enough credit.
Yeah, and Laviska Shenault, 92% available. Just something I noticed too is D.D. Westbrook was a healthy scratch. I'm not sure why or what happened, but yeah, healthy scratch. So I'm not sure if that's going to affect Laviska Shenault's targets and value going forward. But, I mean, he finds the end zone. And, if we're thinking that, Minshew's going to be good, we're thinking that this Jaguars defense is going to be bad, Minshew's going to have to throw the ball a ton. I mean, the guy was highly efficient. You go 19 for 20. That's not easy to do in the NFL. So if Laviska Shenault's going to be on the field, I mean, there's only so much that DJ Chark personally can do. So if there's going to be a second receiver and if D.D. Westbrook's not going to be the guy, then I think we can't sleep on Laviska Shenault. Yeah. Can't even say his name right. It's Laviska Shenault.
Laviska Shenault.
Another guy where, like I said, a lot of these later guys we're talking about right here, Allen Lazard, Rager, MBS, Laviska Shenault, all these later guys we're talking about right now, these are kind of just like bench stashes. Obviously you're not grabbing them and you're throwing them into your lineup, like a Nyheim Hines in a sense. But yeah, these are just guys that like, hey, obviously you want to have some solid depth on your bench. It's always good to have some solid depth on your bench. So these are guys that we're saying, hey, they're widely available. And me personally, I know all of us, we'd probably agree, like these are guys that I'd rather have on my bench compared to some of the players that you might have on your bench who are irrelevant or, there's no upside to them.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel it. So we can talk about Russell Gage. I'm hyped on this guy. So 3 wide receivers, we were kind of hoping that some of these targets would go to Hayden Hurst, but it seems like they're just kind of running the same offense as the Rams used to with the Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods. They're kind of doing the same thing with Russell Gage, Calvin Ridley, and Julio Jones, it seems like, these 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Russell. I love this.
Yeah, and so he gets 9 receptions, 114 yards on 12 targets. Like I said, he's a stash guy for me personally. I throw him on the bench. I know, I've been the Hayden Hurst guy, so I'm going to try to defend him a little bit right here. I think Hayden Hurst only had 3 catches for 37 yards in a game where Matt Ryan threw the ball 50 times, so you don't like seeing that. But then going back and really kind of evaluating the game and whatnot, I think people forget that the Seahawks went out and signed Jamal Adams, and he's an all-pro caliber safety, and majority of the time he was covering Hayden Hurst, so kind of blanketing him in a sense. When you have, Hayden Hurst was projected to be the third option. Obviously you have Julio Jones, you got Calvin Ridley, and then we're kind of thinking Hayden Hurst could be the third option in the passing game, kind of how Hooper was. But when you have a guy like Jamal Adams, like I said, he's an all-pro safety. Obviously, he kind of limited the upside in this matchup for Hayden Hurst. Maybe that's why some extra targets got funneled to Russell Gage. Obviously, the Falcons were playing catch-up the whole game. I mean, they were just losing the whole game. He threw the ball 50 times. Yeah. I don't know how many times Matt Ryan's going to be throwing the ball 50 times. But it's nice to see that, Matt Ryan trusts him and he's reliable. I mean, 9 catches for 114 yards. That's not easy to do in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think so. Like I said, go grab him, throw him on your bench for sure. And then if anything happens to Calvin Ridley or Julio Jones, knock on wood, I mean, we see that he's capable to go out and get it done.
Yeah, I like it. All right, we can move on to the next guy. We got Steven Sims Jr., the Washington football team wide receiver. You like this guy.
Yeah, just another guy, 85% available. Like I said, you're stashing him. Maybe I'm not breaking the bank. I'm not spending a waiver claim on him, but, he's not a big name either. But if he passes through waivers and you're just kind of like, scrolling through your who's available, and you see a lot of these players got picked up. People put the fab on them. People threw the waiver claims on them, and you're just like, I just want to grab someone. Like I have an extra spot or two. I can really try to grab someone who's got some potential upside. I do like Steven Sims Jr. here. I mean, the guy's got 4.3 speed. I think he had 3 catches for 50 yards, so nothing crazy. But obviously, when you have Dwayne Haskins throwing you the ball, it's kind of hard to get it done. But just a guy, I think he's got some potential upside. Really turned it on in the last couple games last season. So just another bench stash for your boy.
I don't think you have him listed here, but what about Scotty Miller?
Yeah, Scotty Miller was a guy I was going to write on there, and then I didn't. And the only reason I didn't write him on there was due to the fact that the Buccaneers were losing the whole game pretty much. So, they're passing a ton. And then Mike Evans was banged up. He wasn't 100%. So, Mike Evans, I don't know how many targets he finished. I know he I don't want to say he bailed you out with his little one catch, 2-yard touchdown, but at least he didn't give you a goose egg. But for the most part, Mike Evans didn't have anything the whole entire game until like the last 3 minutes of that Saints game. So to me, it was kind of like, all right, Mike Evans wasn't really involved. That's kind of why Scotty Miller was a little bit more efficient in this game. I think I just need to see it on a more consistent basis. Yeah. But could I be wrong? I could be wrong. I know Dre.
Dre loves him, and yeah. I think Dre has something where he says that Scotty Miller. I know I have Steven Sims Jr. in the highlights going if you're watching this on YouTube, but Scotty Miller could take that Julian Edelman role that kind of it seems like he's missing that he used to have in New England. I mean, you can make that argument.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. I think
he's been practicing with Scotty Miller out like all these outside practices that we heard Tom Brady was doing with like Gronk and OJ Howard and stuff, and Scotty Miller was there every time. So it's just a thought.
No, 100%.
Just throwing that out there.
No, 100%. I agree with that.
Okay. We can move on to the tight ends now, though. We got Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles. He looked like he was the second target in Philadelphia.
Looked like he was the main target.
Yeah, he looked like he was a wide receiver 1 on there.
So yeah, we touched on Dallas Goedert, 72% available. I mean, the guy finished as a top 12 tight end last year, and I know like all the receivers were kind of banged up and stuff like that. But guess what? It's 2020, and all the receivers are banged up again. So
yeah.
But yeah, Goedert finishes 8 receptions, 101 yards on 9 targets. He gets you the touchdown right there. You're kind of hoping that Ertz would put up those numbers, but yeah, it was Goedert who was the guy here who put up a monster game. I mean, if you have, let's say you have like an Austin Hooper who kind of underperformed. I think Hooper will do a lot better with Njoku on IR now. But let's say you're a little bummed out on your tight end production right there. It didn't go quite as well as you thought it would be. Maybe you drank the Blake Jarwin Kool-Aid, and now he's out with a torn ACL, so you're kind of scrambling on the waiver wire to get somebody. Dallas Goedert obviously heavily utilized in this passing attack, and like I said, as long as all these receivers are banged up, he finished as a tight end 1 in 12-team formats last year, so he's good. He'd be a guy, like I said, if you need a tight end, I'd be spending a high waiver claim or some I'd be dropping some fab on him to go get him
for sure. Yeah, and then would you trade for him?
I don't know if I'd be trading for him because his value is probably at its peak right now. I mean, the guy just had 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah. I mean, if I'm the owner, I want top dollar for him in this sense.
Sometimes though, with the value, people are like, oh, I could trade him for high, and then they end up not getting really that many offers. It's like sometimes I don't know, but try and get Dallas Goedert on your team if you can.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, if you're just matchup basing tight ends, you waited on tight end down the stretch, you could have him potentially. I don't know how many times people played him. I know Anthony touched on it, that he thought he was a good tight end stream in week 1.
Yeah, he did say that, yeah.
Shout out to Anthony. Yeah, when we were doing the live start 'em sit 'em, he said that he liked Goddard's upside a lot, and he really hit that one on the head.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next one. Mike Gesicki. he didn't seem like that utilized, but if you're in need of a tight end, like you said, if Blake Jarwin's out and you need somebody, Mike Gesicki could be that guy for you.
Yeah, Gesicki 42% available. Finished the game with 3 receptions for 30 yards on 5 targets, so nothing crazy. But like I said, if Devontae Parker is out for any period of time, they got to throw the ball to somebody. Like I said, there's no Albert Wilson, no Allen Hurns. Yeah, we have Preston Williams, but he's only in his second year. Gesicki is a big body, like just an oversized wide receiver. He lines up in the slot a lot. If Devontae Parker is out, I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of Mike Gesicki lined up on the outside in some scenarios. So, and like, you're going to get this week, we're playing the Bills, the Dolphins. I say we because I'm a Dolphins fan. But the Dolphins are playing the Bills this weekend. Preston Williams is going to see a lot of Tre'Davious White. He's going to see a lot of Josh Norman on the outside. His target upside is obviously not there. Like I said, you got to throw the ball to somebody. And if Preston Williams is going to be like blanketed by those guys, Gesicki to me is just the next most valuable option in this passing attack.
For sure.
And we've seen Fitzmagic. He just, like I said, he literally just huck it, chuck it, fuck it. He just slings the ball and, he lets, go out and get his thing. And Gesicki's a freak athlete. I think he's like 6'5", or 6'6", something like that, and he runs like a 4.5 40. He's got like a 40-inch vertical. He's just a freak athlete out there. Obviously not the best in terms of getting separation, but when you have a guy like that where you can just throw it up to him and he can out-jump the guy, I mean, he's like out-rebounding these smaller defensive backs and linebackers that are covering him.
For sure.
A good guy, like I said, if you had a Blake Jarwin or, I don't know what tight ends kind of, maybe you got a Kittle. We got to touch on that, find out more news. George Kittle bangs up his knee. Is he going to miss any time? Is he going to be limited? So, yeah, just a guy. I love that Fitz part right there. He eats his neck. But you watch the YouTube if you want to hear what I'm saying right there. But, yeah, Gesicki, just a good guy to go get. I had him projected as a top 10 tight end. And I think now, like I said, if Devontae Parker goes down, there's just so many targets to go around, and we have no real offensive weapons to throw the ball to outside of – oh, it's a breaking news. I like how that's our breaking news drop.
Yeah, it's our everything drop.
It just says breaking news. Allen Robinson, who is in the final year of his deal, has removed #Bears from his Twitter bio and has deleted all Bears-related photos from his Instagram.
This has happened before. I've seen that happen before with another player, actually. I can't remember who it was, but I remember that happened before.
It's kind of funny in week 1. Maybe we see a scenario where they trade him? Maybe Miami put in a call. We need Miami. We need receivers. We got some picks. You never know. You never know.
All right, well, that's interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. All right, so let's move on to the next tight end. We got Chris Herndon for the New York Jets. This guy everybody anticipated in previous years. Last year, everybody was like, oh, he's going to come out. He had some injuries. He didn't really end up showing up. This first week, he didn't do too bad for a tight end. Not bad.
Yeah, PPR, not too bad. I mean, 6 receptions. That's always nice to see. Only 37 yards, so that's pretty gross. But 7 targets. I think the thing with Herndon right here is the Jets just have no pass-catching weapons. Obviously outside of Jamison Crowder that, we were really high on. Hopefully you went out and drafted him. Jamison Crowder goes out, has a monster game. I'm just humble bragging right now. But, yeah, Le'Veon Bell goes down, who's arguably their second-best pass-catching weapon behind Jamison Crowder. He's going to be out for a couple weeks with a hamstring injury. Denzel Mims, still the rookie, still learning the system, still learning how to be a pro in the NFL. And then Brashard Perryman, who I don't know. I got to see it more before I'm all in on the Brashard Perryman train. So, yeah, Chris Herndon right here. Like I said, if you got a guy like Kittle, you got a guy, you're looking for tight end, he's 60% available. I'm going out and I'm getting him right now, especially maybe you have a guy like a Gesicki or, and you just want to, match up base your tight ends. Maybe you go out and you pair him with Herndon and stuff like that. So, yeah, Herndon.
Greg Olsen for the Seattle Seahawks.
So, yeah, Greg Olsen, I know I've touched on it. I know, Mike, you love Greg Olsen. But we said it. When you're the tight end for Russell Wilson in this Seattle Seahawks offense, you have touchdown upside each and every week. Yeah, maybe the yardage, maybe the receptions isn't going to be crazy, but each and every week you have the ability to score a touchdown, and that's what Greg Olsen did. 4 receptions, only 24 yards, but a touchdown.
But that's the thing is that's all you're looking for in when you're tight end. You only need, you're not trying to get 10 receptions from a tight end. Like, it's just the chances of you getting that, you got to draft a tight end early, and it's just,
Yeah, I think, like you said, if you're – obviously you got your Kittles, your Kelseys, your Mark Andrews, your Ertz, maybe your Wallace, you throw them in there. Those guys, you're looking for, like, some big yardage, big receptions, and touchdown upside every week. But like I said, when you're getting to these later rounds and, you're just – when you wait on tight end in a sense, maybe you're drafting 2 to play the matchups, you're just looking for a tight end who can get me in the end zone. Because, especially in PPR, you're getting 7 points with that catch and whatever yardage. And, usually you're happy with that from your tight end if you waited and you draft a tight end in like the 15th, 16th round. So, me and you, Mike, I know we love Greg Olsen, and we were talking about it. And you were
just they paid him over there. They brought him in for a reason. I know Will Dissly was killing it last year, but it's like you can't deny that the Seahawks have a tight end who's proven himself. Like, why would you not utilize it?
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. If I'm what's his name?
Russell.
No, Coach Pete.
Pete
Carroll. If I'm Pete Carroll, I'm smart. I'm a smart guy. I'm gonna fucking use Greg Olsen.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I mean, each and every week he's got touchdown upside in that offense. Got to look at the snap percentage to see how much he actually played, because I know Anthony would bring it up. How much is he going to play in terms of that? But yeah, I know Anthony too. He said he was looking at the waiver wire. Because before the week start, we always try to check the waiver wire to see who's on there, who could potentially break out. And try to grab him before the game start.
Right,
that way you're getting him for free. You're not spending fab. You're not spending a waiver claim on a player. And he, I know he brought it up. He was going to go grab Greg Olsen, but he's like, I didn't want to roster 3 tight ends. So I wonder if he ended up grabbing Greg Olsen or not, because if he didn't, obviously in that league, someone's probably going to be eyeing to go grab him now.
Yeah. Okay, we're just going to look at some defenses. So we got the Buccaneers defense here. We were looking at kind of week 2 spots. That's not a bad ad. We don't have to go super in depth on these defenses if you do. It's up to you.
Yeah, so just, if you're streaming defenses, usually my strategy this year at least was to, if I could get the Steelers defense, obviously you saw that Monday Night Football, you got the steel curtain defense right here behind me. If you could go out and get the Steelers defense, that was my number 1 defense. And if you could get them, cool, you're getting them. But if you didn't, my strategy then was I was drafting a defense who had a good first week matchup, and I usually just try to stream defenses until I can find a defense on the waiver wire that's good. Eventually someone's going to drop a defense, and they're going to actually be a really good defense. So you can just go pick them up in the waiver claim or for free in a sense. But yeah. So if you're streaming defenses, these are just a couple defenses that we like personally. The Bucs defense, I know they just gave up 34 points against the Saints, but that's the Saints. You got Kamara. I know Michael Thomas is banged up, but I mean that's still a good offense led by Drew Brees. But the Bucs, they're going to be at home against the Panthers. They're 55% available. Not a bad streaming option. And you might be thinking like, oh, but Tyler, your boy T, they got Christian McCaffrey. That's not a good defense. The Bucs actually blanketed Christian McCaffrey last year. Well, I think I was telling you, Mike, he had like 22 carries for 39 yards in one game, and then I think he had like 17 carries for 21 yards another game. The Bucs run defense was the best rush defense last year in terms of yards per game, and they only gave up 3.3 yards per rush last year. So pretty good against the run, the Bucs are. And I'm assuming at home in Tampa Bay, Brady's pissed off. They're going to want to put up some points. And, when you're ahead, this defense should be able to pin their ears back and be able to rush Teddy Bridgewater.
Definitely. All right, we can move on to the Chiefs defense. Who do they got next week?
So, yeah, the Chiefs defense, kind of hard in terms of, like, streaming defenses this week. There's only 3 that came to mind for me. A lot of the better matchups are highly owned defenses, like the Bills, like the Bears, Niners, Steelers, etc. But the Chiefs, they're going to be playing in L.A. against the Chargers. They're 80% available. And the reason to me was just like, I'm thinking, okay, if Tyrod Taylor could barely put up 16 points against this bad Bengals defense, I can only imagine what the Chiefs defense can do or what can hold them to, especially having extra time to prepare. Chiefs played on Thursday night, so, they get, 3 or 4 extra days to prepare for the Chargers. So, yeah, another decent streaming option, I think.
And then we can move on to this last one. We got the Rams defense. Rams are where are they at there? Oh, they're taking on the Eagles. So the Eagles have 3 offensive linemen. I don't know the exact status on them right now, but they got the Washington. They made Washington's defense look amazing, and I don't think the Washington's defense is that spectacular. I think that the O-line being hurt is definitely hurting that, and they're just missing offensive pieces. You're just gonna have a lot of mismatch there with whatever defense plays them, and the Rams' defense is pretty good. You got a little guy named Aaron Donald over there.
Yeah, I mean, don't sleep on the Redskins' defense. You know, they got Chase Young, and he had some pretty good plays. I think he had a strip sack on his first sack or whatever. And then you got, Ryan Kerrigan is also really good. The front seven for Washington is really good. But I think the point we're trying to say here is that the Eagles' offensive line is banged up, and it looks really bad. And if you watch that Sunday night game, like you said, Aaron Donald, the Cowboys have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And Aaron Donald was just manhandling those guys. I don't know if you've seen the highlight or the play where he just goes in there and he literally just bull rushes to the linemen and they go flying, and then he sacks Dak or he hits Dak. So, yeah, you're going to tell me I get that guy, Aaron Donald, against a Eagles offensive line who struggled week 1. They're missing 2, potentially 3 starters on the offensive line. Yeah, give me all the Rams. They're 85% available. This would be my number 1 streaming defense of the week.
Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff. But that's all we got. I will say, so if you're looking at your waiver wires, I just want to put this out there. If you're looking at your waiver wires, what the heck? And you're thinking to yourself, oh, let me drop this guy. Don't drop too much for these players. We are mentioning these players, but it's not a thing where, okay, yeah, now don't drop a guy who you could possibly start for a speculative ad. But people will do that. So what I always do right after the waiver wires go through, I go on my ESPN app. This works for. I think that you can do this on other apps too, but I know for a fact you can do it on ESPN. If you press league and you press recent activity, you can see all the leagues, everybody's transactions, who people are dropping, who people are picking up, and it's good to look at that during waiver wire, right when they go through in the middle of the night, and then you can see who they dropped, and you'd be surprised you could get some gems that you can just add on your team right then and there. So
I agree, because like you said, there's going to be some people who – here's the thing. Week 1, people panic,
Panic.
People think they've already won their championship in week 1. People think they've already lost the championship in week 1. And, like I said, people are going to be like, oh, this guy's a dud. He didn't do good, and they're going to drop him. So, yeah, there are going to be some good players there. I think I'll do, too, as well, is after, the waiver period goes through and people are dropping players, I'll go and I'll click on the roster percentage to see who the highest roster percentage. Most of the time, people who aren't very good are going to have high roster or low roster percentage.
You sort it by
sort it. Yeah.
So you go to players and then you press sort by own percentage.
Yeah. So then you'll get a player who's like 80% owned or 90% owned, and it's like, okay, well, why did this guy drop him? He's an idiot. And it'll be a good player. Like I could see a scenario where Tyler Boyd didn't have a good game week 1.
Yeah,
and depending on in your league size, whether 12 might be hard, but if you're in a 10-team league, I could see a scenario where a guy, someone drops Tyler Boyd to go get one of these guys that we touched on right here. And if Tyler Boyd for some reason gets dropped, just as an example, yeah, I'm going out and grabbing him. So yeah, like Mike said, just keep an eye on it because people will overreact and drop some good players.
I can't tell you how many times I get players on my team doing that strategy. So there's a little extra hint for you.
Well, that's nice, dude. And this was the first week where we
Pass the wire! Pass the wire!
We patted the wire, baby. Well, that's it. That's episode 46, waiver wire after week 1. What do we call this? Week 2 waiver wire or week 1 waiver wire? What would you call this?
Week 1 waiver
Week 1 waiver wire. That's what I think too. But anyways, this has been week 1's waiver wire, episode 46, season 3 of the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. Me, Michael Marcanio, and Tyler Velis, your boy T, we're able to help you out. So help us out. Give us a sub. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app if you haven't already. Go check us out, dude, and hit us up if you need any help with any type of fantasy advice. Also, check the fantasy football. I'm gonna call it last minute lineup live stream. That's what we're gonna call it. Hour before the games. Tune in on YouTube and Instagram. We will be helping you out doing these start sits last second. So that being said, us big boys are out.